Hi, I'm Lara. I've recorded this video probably 6 times. It's a very hard story to tell. Too many details, not enough details, appropriate to say, not appropriate to say. Anyway, I hope I can be successful with this one. I was laid off last year at the age of 55 after 24 years of service working at the same company. I say that because there was an acquisition in the middle there and they honored my service. So I'll explain a little bit of that in just a second. But I really wanted to record this story because, gosh, let's see, my last day of work was in April of 2024. And I went through, 5 months of feeling like, besides my coworker, my other coworkers, that I was really the only one going through all of this. I hadn't looked for a job since you mailed a physical resume in snail mail to the company that posted the ad. And here it is. I'm in my 50s. I've heard about ageism before, but never experienced it, of course, because I wasn't out looking for a job. And, I tend to have good faith in people, thinking that, wow, you've got a good intuition. Can you just see the value in people? But that's not always the case. When I discovered people posting their stories on LinkedIn and YouTube and TikTok and all of that, it really helped me. And it helped me to realize that I wasn't alone. I mean, I knew I wasn't alone, that other people out there were going through this, but you sure feel alone. Especially, I've worked since I was 15 years old. Got up, got ready, went to work, came home, usually late, scrambled for dinner, raised kids, all of those things. It was just weird all of a sudden. So seeing what people were saying was so helpful. So I wanted to record this so other people might have that same value in seeing what other people are going through. And I really think that just due to the internet, it's kind of shrinking our demographic where we're able to connect with one another and help each other. I was watching a guy on YouTube last week who was fired at the age of 61, and I reached out to him and just said, hey, if you want me to review your resume and de-ageism it, let me know. So, I think that there's not a lot that's going to change right now with the market, but also corporations and companies who are looking for somebody with a little bit of experience for cheap instead of a lot of experience for, I guess, expensive. I don't know what all the reasons are. I could sit and make a list of them, but I definitely feel that a lot of them are false. I've kept up with my computer skills for my whole career. I just a few years ago, I taught myself SharePoint so I could be responsible for developing and maintaining the intranet at a huge global company. So I don't think it's all necessarily true about people who are in our age group. There's a little bit of background that's important for you to know before I tell the layoff story. My career is for the most part, all HR, but not the technical HR. I started in technical HR, benefits and 401k and, all of those things that require analysis, and I am not an analysis person. I worked for an incredible company, and these companies are few and far between. This CEO is now running a company where he's out there teaching the next generations how to lead by taking care of people. After a few years of technical HR, I realized that it wasn't my thing. So I was lucky enough working for him that I got to create my own role in employee engagement and culture. And I did this for many, many, many years. My role was basically taking care of the people. He felt like if we took care of them, then they'd take care of everything else and the company would grow. And he cared about people as a person. So my job was really and truly not just all of our recognition and events and growth and, training and all those things, but it was, a lot of helping people through adversity or helping employees grow. We were a 24/7 call center, which is also very unusual for having this kind of environment. Over the years, we won 9 Best Place to Work awards, several at the local level in Dallas, several with the Texas state level, and we got #1 Best Place to Work in America for small and medium companies as a call center. So that just can tell you a little bit about what it was like. After being there for a long time, the CEO who owned the company, it was a private company, local, everybody under the same roof here in Fort Worth, Texas, and he decided he was ready to sell and move on to do some things that he was passionate about in life. And he sold to a very large, global, huge company. So it was very new for us. He came on for a little bit to kind of assess the culture and give some recommendations. And it was very unusual. We were accustomed to people being all under one roof. And here there were 500 locations across the globe at the time, 22,000 people. Half of them didn't have email, which was crazy to me. And it was mostly the people out in the field, drivers or plant workers. And how are you going to develop an engaged workforce when you can't even talk to them? That was one of our first baffling moments. So we jumped in and just, we didn't know how to do anything. And he decided to leave after a little while, of course. And I was kind of there without my buffer. I'd always had him for guidance, was just, a great mentor, a great friend. He's like family to me. And when he was gone, it was a little crazy. Anyway, I felt alone. And so once he left, it became evident that a lot of the leadership did not believe in that type of a leadership style. It was just, we needed to make Wall Street happy. We needed to hit numbers with our stock, very much that kind of an organization. I, stuck it out. I worked really hard. I cannot believe I stayed as long as I did. I thought I would have gotten laid off a long time ago. But in reality, I don't think I even knew what I wanted or what that was like, but I always teased, well, they're going to lay me off eventually. But I was moved out of the culture and engagement space almost immediately into, different roles, which I'm very grateful for. I got to learn amazing things because they were going through a big business transformation. So I got to learn about, change management and the technology of implementing an SAP platform, all these things that I'd never participated in. So that was great. Okay, fast forward, way forward. And a couple of years ago, I moved over an area in the business that I don't think I was aligned much with. I was struggling to align with the company at all. And I told myself every morning, I'm miserable, but I'm lucky to work at home. I'm lucky to be able to, not commute. I'm lucky to have a great salary, but I didn't realize I was killing myself. And I was just so down and depressed all the time. My family told me that you're not yourself anymore. You're like a shell of yourself. I was working so many hours. We were global, and so you had to get up early to be on calls with Europe and then stay late to be on calls with the West Coast and all of those things. Plus the role I was in was we were required to be available at certain times, especially when there were emergencies or crisis or things of that nature. So I worked a lot of weekends, a lot of nights. There were only 2 of us in this role that supported the whole entire company. That means translating things and, making sure everything is communicated to everybody in the business in their language and the way that they like to be communicated with. I moved under this role reporting to someone who we just did not align. We did not align with leadership style. I've led many people. I've mentored many people. We did not agree. The communication style was extremely different. I'm very open. I say what I'm feeling and thinking, but I do it in a very nice and appropriate way. I think that you can say anything to anyone about anything when they know you've got the best interest at heart. And I always had the best interest for the company and the people that work there. So I felt like I was running on a hamster wheel constantly because I was trying to fit into a place that was impossible to fit into. And I knew it had been that way all along, but I just kept going. And little by little, I just realized we are not going to change this dynamic of this relationship, and something's, got to give. And then I had my performance evaluation, and she gave me a 2, which is needs improvement. I've never in my life gotten a 2, and I take feedback great, really, really good. But when it's validated, when it's true, I'll say, I know I did this. I'm one of those people that will say, oh, hey, manager person, I messed this up. Here's how I fixed it. You don't have to worry about it. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Just really honest. And the things that were written as to justification were so petty and like really recent. I would say like over the last month, and were opposite of the trusting environment that was made to be the team. I don't want to get into too much. So right then and there, all this time I've been in engagement, and all of a sudden I got it. It's like the experience that you have, it's going to be something very minor, or something like what I experienced, to send you over the top into the disengaged world. And I was always teetering there based on what was going on, but immediately I was like, I don't care. I do not care anymore. And so that was probably 9 months before I was laid off. So here's the story. In February of 24, I went to get on my normal Monday meeting with all of the directors that reported into my manager. And I joined, and it was just my manager, which was really unusual. Everybody was always on time, because we went from call to call to call to call all day long. And I immediately knew something was up, but within seconds, my phone dinged, and I looked down, and my other coworker, the only other me there, said, I just got laid off. And so I immediately knew what was happening, but I was kind of in a fog because I never really expected it would happen. But I talked about it, but never really expected it to happen. I mean, I've been working in this whole long stint since, I was 29 probably. So anyway, she says, we're waiting for HR, which immediately, I'm kind of watching this whole situation by now as I'm outside myself, as I'm somebody from that engagement world watching this experience to see how it's going. And immediately I'm thinking, HR should be here. This is really uncomfortable, not just for me, but for her. And that experience is not a great start. Now, layoffs were going on all over the company. And, HR was just as stretched thin as everybody else, but still I don't know. Anyway, so when HR joins, they both explained that they're eliminating my role, the whole role, which was shocking to me since there's only 2 of us to support the whole company. Hindsight, there's a lot of things that happened that I'll get into, but I was, really shocked. And they said, oh, but we want you to take this role, to take this job as director of culture and engagement. And I loved the VP of that role, and we'd worked together a lot through engagement initiatives over the years. But I just knew I wasn't aligned with the vision. There was no vision for engagement and culture. There was no value on people or anything like that. So it would be a role where I was absolutely not able to be successful. So anyway, but at the moment I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll take that role in my head. And then they explained, if you don't want that role, you can accept a severance package, which was, my 24 years and, honored and all that. But regardless of what I did, which way I went, I had to stay through April because there were initiatives that were going on, and there was only, me left. So I knew I was going to take on my coworker's job. I was already working a ton, taking on her job, and then trying to help whomever was going to get this handed down to them, a job aid. And I kind of knew the team members on the other part of her team that were going to inherit all of this. I wanted them to be successful. So anyway, I hung up and called my husband, and he immediately said, "You're taking that job, right?" And for the first time, I was like, I don't know. It just dawned on me, I don't know if I do want that. So we hung up, and I just sat in the quiet for a few hours, just really wondering what in the world I'm going to do. It's a very different time. The times of being able to get in front of, a hiring manager, or email them or call them, and then they pick up, that's all over. And I just did not want to be back in a corporate toxic environment. I just didn't. So we chatted that night. By the time I woke up, I knew I'm not taking this job. So the very next day, I notified everybody, and, they wanted me to reconsider, and that went on all the way through April. I just couldn't. I knew I was doing the right thing. I don't know what it was. I knew. I didn't know how I was going to make money or anything in my life, but I was doing the right thing. So, move forward to April, and my last day, there's no fanfare, there's no parade. I don't expect that. I do not expect that. I'm just like, it's so surreal. I'd already talked to all the people I wanted to talk to, but it's the end of the day, you close your laptop, that's it, you mail it in. It's just weird. And for, the first few weeks, I think I spent that time detoxing, like literally trying to not have anxiety when I was away from my computer. I was never away from my computer during the day. There was no driving to pick up something at the store a few blocks away. There was none of that. If I had an emergency appointment, doctor's appointment or something, I'd go. But, I usually put all of that to the side. We had Teams, which was an IM, platform along with other things, but I just would constantly hear that ding, 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 ding of people needing me. And it took so long for me to say, I don't have to be glued to this computer. And so after that, I went through a little bit of some euphoria of just being happy. It was, May here in Texas. It's pretty. And, just I swam and just tried to do some of the chores I hadn't been able to do in years and years. But after that, I, didn't have a plan. And so I knew my grandson was transitioning into kindergarten, and he didn't want to go to a baby daycare is what he called it. And so he stayed with me. We hung out all summer. It was invaluable. I loved it. We had an absolute blast. I will always remember that time. But during that time, I had committed to my daughter. I was doing it, and I knew I couldn't really accept a job. So I dabbled and I looked for some things out there, but I didn't, dive in wholeheartedly. I didn't want to be lazy, however, and not accomplish anything. So I decided to sign up to take my SPHR certification, Senior Professional in Human Resources. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I was ever going to find an engagement job again that's really and truly what it's meant to be. So I just wanted to do something that would help me in the future. So I studied for that for a few months. It's hard. You have to have a certain level of HR experience to be able to take it. But still, I think it's 7 years you have to have. It's still a lot of studying. So I took that in August and I passed that. But by August, I was getting really down. I think you go through the same phases of grief when you lose a job. You're in denial or fog. Then you kind of go into anger, which I did. Then you go into that period of scrambling to get things back to the way that they were, just some kind of normalcy. Then you go into depression, and I was getting there. And then you go into acceptance. But after my grandson went to school and I started looking for jobs out there and I started to see what people were posting on LinkedIn, I was shocked. I had no idea. People were saying, I've been in this role for 30 years and I have all of this IT experience or whatever it may be, and nobody will call me back. I've applied, 120 places or they ghost me, and I just could not believe that, which it made me even more down in the dumps. Then I started reading some of these job descriptions, and as somebody who wrote job descriptions and categorized them into, the pay scale, I was shocked to see that a lot of them were the job of 3 people. You couldn't possibly be successful in a role, and they were lower end pay. So that just got me more down, and just thinking about going back into that kind of an environment where you're on a hamster wheel again trying to keep up didn't appeal to me at all. But I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I really got into a funk so bad that my friends, my family, they're all trying to tell me what I was good at, and I would roll my eyes, depending on who it was. I was either rolling my eyes for real or on the inside. I didn't believe in any of it. I wasn't happy about passing my test because I just had no confidence at this point. And that's what beaten down for a long time does to somebody. I am that confident person. I'm that person. I pick myself up. I brush myself off. I'm sad for a little while, but then I just am like, I'm resilient. I'm going to fix this. But where was that person? Totally gone. And every night, I would start making comments like my husband would say, "Oh, you're just the best wife," or so I'd make him lunch or something. I'm like, no, I don't contribute a thing. I have to be contributing, and I love helping people for real. Like, I love teaching people how to grow their career and things. And I just didn't feel like I was contributing to anything in life. And it was really, really depressing. So I started watching YouTube videos and seeing some of the people out there that had been going through the same thing and reinventing themselves, etc. And I had a moment, I'll talk about that in my next video, but where I realized what I was doing to sabotage myself and what snapped me out of it. So I'm going to talk about the things that I did to sabotage myself and how to get out of those and what got me out of that and how I'm reinventing myself. I'm not going to go back into corporate unless I just absolutely have to. I'm not going back into that environment. And it's just the right healing thing for me at this moment. But so many people out there, so many of you are doing the same thing. I not only watch these videos, I go into the comments and I read what other people are saying their experiences were. And it's just heartbreaking, some of it. We are not the demographic, we're not that generation where we ever got stagnant. We grew up in technology. Oh my gosh, we had dial phones, rotary phones, and then punch button phones, and then flip phones, and then, the very beginning of smartphones, and then the internet and email. We constantly had to keep up with our skills. We had to, or we'd get left behind. So saying that about this generation, it's just so wrong. Like, you're judging a whole group of people based on, oh, what do you call that? It starts with an S, maybe, I don't know, where you're judging a whole group of people by, you know, one opinion. And it's gonna hit me the minute I click off the stupid video. Anyway, so I realized nothing's getting better out there. I've got to take care of myself, and what I'm good at is helping people with their career. Okay, I'm rambling, and my phone cut off because of storage, so I had to delete a bunch of things and reboot it. And I'm losing light, or it's coming in a weird way, but I hope you join me. I'm gonna share a lot of my HR experience and how to maneuver some of these things, layoffs, being fired, those kinds of things, but mostly just how to maneuver this new weird world of being in our 50s and reinventing ourselves. So thanks so much for listening. Hope you join. Bye.